And we're live.
Excellent. Hello there, future humans and fellow seekers. I am Nai G Coach.
And this is Shiny Jarleen.
All right, so we'll do our normal thing, have a little high-level discussion in the beginning, and then we're going to go into the back and forth between shows that Jarleen and I are watching and just general samples that accompany our particular radar, mixed in with requested samples from people who are following our work. All right, so for the advanced stuff, well, what came to mind is actually a conversation Jarleen and I were having just before. Jarleen is doing some school work, and she had a test today, like a big test at the end of it all, and it was taxing for her. So two things on that is, well, I'll stick with the mojo reading aspect here. Is she was saying, "Oh, I'm really fatigued." That really fried me, and so she was wondering how much help she was going to be able to be on this session. Well, first of all, she's amazing. So she's super high level and a boss hero. So even her fatigued is an awesome person to have on your side in general, and particularly in this kind of work here. So she's a superstar. But then it made me think about modifiers, because the first thing that came to my mind when she said that, besides what I just said now, is that she gives me bonuses even if she doesn't have to necessarily say anything. And that made me think of just kind of like bonuses in general. And the one that came to mind in this situation is that, one of these days we'll have to catalog all the different kind of modifiers. There's quite a lot of modifiers. It's like an RPG game of like they come in for your final targeting bonus or penalty challenge. So I find being on camera quite challenging. And so that's something I have to weigh and get to balance with as I am reading. So that adds a significant modifier to me as far as difficulty is doing reading on camera. But Charlene gives me a huge bonus to feeling all right, feeling all right with the world. And so she kind of gives a wonderful zone that way, just like she is right now. So this here, me being on a camera like this, is easier. I can feel it. I can feel that is noticeably easier because she's here. And that in turn increases my mojo reading ability. So just her presence actually helps with that. So that's something to keep in mind in general, is being very aware of all the things that are influencing you. Thoughts that are on your mind, surrounding ambiance, the lighting, the noise, the company, the hour of the day. All these things can really influence what you're able to read at. And that's just in general. But once you get in touch with that general process, there's some interesting things you can do with it. One that comes to mind is, well, two, you can proactively improve your power. And I guess that's kind of what the takeaway is things that let you know, like, oh, my lens is really doing it. Just in general, you'll feel that muscle getting tired, that facial recognition muscle, that when you feel that fatigue, you're like, oh, I'm doing it. That was your lens flexing and it got fatigued. But then you can actually work to have greater power. You can flex, right? And you know the difference when you flex when you're fresh versus flexing when you're fatigued. You can note that difference. You can also note that difference when, for example, Jarlene's here versus she wouldn't be here. The weight's different. And with that, like an RPG game, if you're really trying to do a particular read, you can feel your lens state and try out various configurations of your, master your universe, whatever your particular world is, doing different things to see what your lens feels like, and noting your lens has different strengths. And you can go inside and go, am I, like the stamina one, am I fatigued? Am I fresh? There's also, am I heavy right now, or am I like swole right now? And noting whether or not you are feeling, shrunk or swole. So fatigued versus fresh, and then shrunk versus swole. And noting what makes you swole. And then noting what you can do to improve on that. And you can use a kind of like a water diviner on yourself, like what makes you strong. So that's something I want to note is the modifiers are there. We talked about that, but being able to note how modifiers change your strength and knowing my targeting apparatus here is this many levels stronger. Like here, I've noticed for a long time, I know the difference between when Jylene's here versus not here. It feels different. It helps a lot myself. Like you notice, for example, when I go on camera by myself, I am often less casual. That's, even if I'm being funny, it's a little bit more something, and that's because that helps keep me present. But that does burn energy, and that burning of consumption of energy plays into being able to read and so forth. So I could do it, but it costs more energy. So that's one thing. Tracking yourself through your lens strength and your process. Another one is reverse engineering. And this is a really wonderful thing. If you know that you have different lens strengths, then you can make guesses with your lens impaired. I use a lot in the purification. I fatigue myself on purpose. It's like being on the mat. You roll to fatigue, and then errors you didn't even know you had in your game will start to come up. All right. But what you can do is, and then afterwards you can watch video of yourself, and you can, it was just you like last night, but it was a different you. You've had a night's sleep, and you can look at you in reverse, and you're stronger. You do the same thing with your lens, is knowing, like Jylene, we do this all the time. I guess the third element. One is that you can reverse engineer. How strong was I? If you're stronger with your lens, you can be like a different person. Like you're a level 20 person because you were swole. And we did that read earlier, you're level 18 because you were shrunken. So if you then come in behind, you can check yourself. And this is vital. I use it so much in my work because I was pioneering by myself to get the initial gains here. And so you need a method sometimes to check yourself. And if you can get in touch with your lens strength, when you're stronger, you can use that to correct the work of the other you. The you that was more tired or more shrunk. And then note, what process was I using? I was on the mat. What was I going with? What was my thinking? What was my approach? What was my follow through? The whole thing. And then what does this stronger lens version of me think of that? Was that a good practice? Okay, I'll keep doing that. Was that not a good practice? Okay, I'll slough that off. So very, very helpful. And that brings in the third one, I kind of mentioned it there. Jylene and I do this all the time. And this needs to happen. I want to have data bedrock so there can be that sureness. But in general, until cases have been confirmed, there's an ongoing process of what we think of them. But when we do it, we often mention where we were. I was out. I was tired. I had just woken up. I was fresh. I was strong. I had been looking at Vzi versus Gbi all day, like noting what state my lens was in. It kind of goes to the case. Like, this is what we think it is, but when we thought that, where was the Hubble telescope? When's the last time its screens were cleared off? You kind of know the state of the instrument. So you can build yourself up and note that. You can look back on yourself and correct your own work with a stronger you. And I know this is more weight, and when you're first learning lots of cases, you're like, I can barely keep in there what it is, just their mojo or their palettes and so forth. I get that. But as you get more familiar, more fluent with the samples, you can take on more. And that's one thing to note is, in a technical sense, where was my lens as far as being fatigued, fresh versus shrunk, swole? But then also, which is separate, what mood was I in? It's a fascinating shamanic experience as well to track what mood did that sample put me in and why and when was that. And obviously my memory is really bad, so when I say when, it doesn't have to be like an exact thing. You don't think of that terms, but like in a general arc of your life, when I think of that sample, when I look at that sample, what does that do to me? What does my lens react to it? What is the connection of my lens in that sample, and why is that? It's very valuable information, and it increases the connectivity of the tapestry of it all, the whole human matrix. So pretty cool stuff. All right, I guess it's good for today. But yeah, we'll talk more about that in the future. And if you want to be kind of savvy with working cases, that is something that goes along with it, is noting lenses. It's, for example, like best way to say it is, like a lot of times, like high-tech stuff like Hubble telescope, Hadron Collider, when they show you pictures, often the official thing, whatever, it'll have down the corner like what instrument took that on what date. You know what I mean? Some things will even say like, it was taken on this instrument on this date and the weather conditions were such. That's quite common, down there. It's down there, it's tiny, and you don't have to think about it a lot. You just look at the picture and go, ooh, what does it say versus the last picture? Like normal emoji reading. But it is important to note that that is worthwhile, and it is part of the connectivity and it making sense. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into our back and forth. I think we are. Is there a show we're still doing?
Let's see.
What we do in the shadows. All right.
Okay, let's screen share here. The little gnomes are processing.
All right. Well, in the meantime, we're going to go through that. And then the plan is, I was thinking, Jarlene, so I'm trying to get deep into some of the IMDb stuff, is perhaps for Murdoch Mysteries and Elementary, the seasons that we're currently watching, we actually just go into each episode and go down the list to see if there's anything we don't have.
Yeah.
Sound good?
That sounds good.
All right. Do we have frozen screen?
We do.
Okay. It still says we're broadcasting. Everything's frozen. It's got this milky.
Not responding.
No.
Message.
I think we should start over.
Let's see.
Oh, this got weird.
Well, I guess so.
All right. Well.
All right. See you folks in a new one in a little bit.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.